this week on Unapologetic Uplift.
First of all, I want you all to have friends around that call you stunning when they introduce you. So if you don't have that, grab them immediately. Find someone. If you can't find someone, DM one of us because we're going to tell you how stunning you are.
To me, it feels irresponsible to overplan and to try and to put myself into a box and say, you have to do it this way because there's no room for creativity.
It's a total buzzkill, joy kill for me to be overly prepared. Start to notice, do you check your phone to see the weather, or do you open a window or open a door and actually look at the sky? I'm begging you to actually look at the sky because that's the stimulus and the real time what's actually happening.
Welcome to Unapologetic Uplift. I'm your host, Kim Staples, joined by my stunning co-host, Ianthe Mauro. And today, Ianthe is taking the lead with the subject. So I am going to hand it over to her. Let's do it.
And why am I taking the lead? First of all, I want you all to have friends around that call you stunning when they introduce you. So if you don't have that, grab them immediately. Find someone. If you can't find someone, DM one of us because we're going to tell you how stunning you are. And we're going to definitely point out the things about you that are brilliant and beautiful. We really, really deserve that in our lives. And I hope that you have that friendship like I have with Kim. So today's subject, what's funny about today's subject is that it's all about not really being prepared. Well, what does that mean? Okay, so if you're very prepared, so there are very different ways of looking at preparation. And I would say a conventional way of looking at preparation is that you have an outline, you have exact timing and expectations, and I'm talking specifically about showing up for something like this, like recording a podcast. Let's just use that as an example. If you are going to be prepared to show up for a podcast, you're going to know what your subject is ahead of time. You're going to probably have an outline where you have certain points that you want to hit. You'll probably have notes that you can reference as you go on to make sure you stay on point. And you're going to have questions, a back and forth. Well, guess what we have? None of that. We have none of that. And why that's okay, and why I want to encourage you to take the risk of not showing up prepared sometimes. Now, I understand that everyone's different and there are different circumstances. In our case, I just wanted to show you and model in real time what it looks like when we're not prepared in that conventional way. But that doesn't mean we're not prepared. And I'm going to explain to you what I mean by that. No, I don't have an outline I'm looking at. No, I don't have notes that I'm referring to. No, I have not pre-decided what it is that I'm going to speak about today, except that I knew that it was important to share and show you what it looks like when you show up fully trusting yourself. Because if you have done work in your life, like Kim and I have, to be present, for it to be possible to be present in the moment, I want you to trust that that can be enough. Because sometimes all that preparation is a way to not be fully present in the moment. What do you think, Kim?
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. And this is just like how I do life. And I find I try to plan and add more structure to things sometimes because I sometimes get in my head about it. I'm like, oh, I just fly by the seat of my pants and, but it works for me. And when I try to have a schedule, and this has always been the case, even when I was in corporate, they would lay out our days for us and be like, oh, you should do this at this time and this at this time and this at this time. I didn't do any of it. Okay. I did not do any of it. I didn't hold the daily meetings that they told me to hold because I was a general manager. But my location was one of the most successful locations in the company. And I wasn't doing any of the shit that they told me to do every day. I was just leading my way intuitively with what came up in the moment, what we had to do. We always exceeded our targets and hit our goals without doing it their way. Not to say that those ways don't work, because the people that do it that way have success too. But there's something to be said about just being in the moment with what is energetically alive and allowing that to lead you. And I even go so far as when I try to plan, I look at the astrology ahead of time to try and prepare myself for it. But there is nothing like feeling the energy in real time and going with what's happening. This may sound completely like insane. I know this sounds completely insane to some people. What do you mean?
Terrifying. I'm sure you're like, this is terrifying and irresponsible.
Yeah. To some people, that's what it feels like. But to me, it feels irresponsible to overplan and to try and to put myself into a box and say, you have to do it this way, because there's no room for creativity. And would I benefit from more structure in some places in my life? I'm sure some people think I sometimes I think yes, but then when I try it, it just doesn't work. And this is how I do everything. This is how I run my business. This is how I market my business. This is how I promote myself. I meet with clients every day, and that morning I plan what we're going to do. Like for tapping, I tap into the universal energy and I'm like, oh, I feel like this is alive. If something is alive in me, it's going to be alive in the other people, for the other people in the group, because everybody else in the group is intuitive and in flow with the energy. So
Oh, I love that. There's so much to this that I love. And one thing that came up for me when you were describing all of that is it feels to me also similarly to you that it's a, it actually, it's a total buzzkill, joy kill for me to be overly prepared. And again, I understand. And that's why I think this is an important thing to talk about on the podcast, because I understand that a lot of people listening do not relate to this probably. And if you do relate to this, I'm so excited to meet you, because I feel like a lot of times the things that seem to be so natural to me might be really weird. And sometimes I feel like, am I the only one out there that, so if this is you, you're not the only one out there that has trouble working in structure and specific structure. And the wild thing is, it has nothing to do with discipline, because I have a ton of discipline and self-discipline. And
same.
it's not that you're not disciplined. It's not about, oh, I'm hedonist and I'm just going with whatever feels good. That's not it at all. It's that what you said, Kim, being able, and I'm putting it in different words than you said, but being able to respond to the energy in the moment, being in response to what you're actually witnessing, feeling, experiencing, throws away, like, doesn't mean you can't do all that preparation, but please be prepared to throw it all away if in the moment it
Right.
isn't working for you. I think that it's not an issue of not being, I think it's great. If you are someone who does spreadsheets, I'm allergic to spreadsheets personally, but if you do spreadsheets or you have graphs and charts and lists, and by the way, I have so many lists. They're everywhere. There's a joke that I'm going to write a memoir one day and it's just going to be a million little Post-its. That's all it's going to be. But if you're a person that likes to set these things out like that, then all I ask is that you then be open to throwing it away if you need to in the moment, because it's really, I think there's so much value, and where I see miracles occur in life is when we're paying attention to what's actually happening in the moment. So I'll give you an example. The weather. This is a simple one. Start to notice. Do you check your phone to see the weather, or do you open a window or open a door and actually look at the sky? Because what I'm begging you to start doing is to actually look at the sky, because that's the stimulus and the real time what's actually happening. And if you can use that as a metaphor for, or allegory for what I'm talking about on a bigger scale of just how you're responding to things and how you're showing up, and that taking the weather by experiencing what it actually looks like and feels like on your skin, and all of your senses are taking it in. If you can do that a little bit more every day, I think what you're going to find is that you have more resilience and you trust yourself more, and you're going to love yourself more, because you're going to see and you're going to appreciate, wow, I prepared, but then I threw it all away and I still did fine. In fact, I did better than I would have maybe if I followed that script. So I really think there's something powerful in spontaneity and being open and to the stimulus that's occurring and being real. Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah. And I just want to say, this doesn't mean that you can't plan. I do lots of planning. Right? Like this week, I am going to accomplish this, and this. Or this day, I'm going to do this. What I don't do, as I do have some things in my schedule, like I'm going to record a podcast at this time. I'm going to meet with clients at this time. Obviously, some things have to go in the calendar, and it's not just like a free for all. But for the most part, I just know what I need to get done in any given day. And I do it at the times that feel good for me. And some things are planned. Sometimes I do plan what I'm going to talk about on the podcast, not well in advance, but maybe the night before something will come through and be like, oh, that would be a good thing to talk about. And there are occasionally times where I might look up some facts or something like that I'm going to share on the podcast. But it's never like we don't have a calendar of events or a calendar of topics or anything like that. It's like, oh, what are we going to talk about today? Or what are we going to talk about tomorrow? Oh, let's talk about this. And usually we'll talk about that thing. Sometimes, though, we'll say, let's talk about this tomorrow. And then something will come up between when we spoke the day before and we're like, no, we got to talk about this.
Yeah.
And we just do it because it feels alive, right? And you want to talk about things while they're alive and you're passionate about them. I could be passionate about something this week and next week want nothing to do with it. And I honor that.
Yes. And so if you're listening and you are a very type A, as it's described, person that crosses every T, dots every I, we're not making you wrong for that. You have self-awareness. You know that what works for you and that's what you do. But I'm showing you and Kim's showing you, because this is one thing. Kim and I have a lot that we don't have in common. I'm not going to list it all.
Of course.
I don't care about the things we don't have in common. I'm not going to I don't need to explain it. We obviously are very different people, but this is one thing we do have in common. And I love this thing about us. And maybe you would say, you know what I mean? Because I know that she's not going to be mad at me if I show up on the morning to record and say, or even worse, in the middle of recording, I change the subject entirely. Kim is going to be there right there with me. And she's not going to get mad at me. And after the fact, we're not going to have this thing of, Ianthe, why did you dare do that? Why did you change it on me? No, because she's with me in this. Imagine. Exactly. We have no behind the scenes. I want to let you all know this, because if we did, I would also tell you, because I think it's really important. Kim and I have never had finished a podcast recording and gotten mad at each other or called each other out for something. We have never done that. What you see in the way that we are together is how we are together. That's another thing that I love about being able to be in conversation with you, Kim, and having these discussions. So the spontaneity and the fact that we're both able to be in the moment and that we've really worked hard to honor that about ourselves without calling it a name or, I love that. Thank you. So thank you.
I used to make myself so wrong for it, right? I thought there was something wrong with me because I couldn't stick to a schedule. At times throughout my corporate career, I'm like, I have this list of things in my calendar and none of them are getting checked off. And I would feel like shit about it. And then obviously I eventually came to terms with it. But there was a time where I felt guilty because I wasn't doing the things, even though I was this high performer and was getting so much praise all the time for what a great job I was doing. It was like, because I wasn't originally open about it and they thought I was doing all the things, it was like, oh my God, I'm doing something wrong here, right? And then eventually I just came clean with it. I don't do that. Oh no, I don't do that either.
I know. And the word trust keeps coming up to me because a lot of managers don't trust their employees, their staff, their team enough to let them have their own way of coming to the result, because there are many ways that you can get to the result, right? But if you're a manager in corporate, I think you're compelled to create a system that everyone is supposed to follow. Well, please don't do that anymore. Come on. Trust first of all, trust yourself that you're going to hire the right people. And if you don't, my favorite, I learned this from a mentor years ago. It's hire slowly, fire quickly. And the hire slowly, fire quickly refers to, you want to really find that person that fits the culture that you've created, and do the process of vetting. And is there, talk to someone they worked with before, all of that. And then if it turns out that they don't work out, they're gone. They're gone. That's it, because you don't have time to take the whole team down. But really, how this relates to what we're talking about is just, I think that there's a compulsion to create certain systems that makes people feel somehow safer. I've created this system, so it's going to all work out.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, they do work though, right? So I do get it from a managerial standpoint as well, because when I would see I would teach them certain sales systems and stuff like that. And if they didn't follow them, they often wouldn't get done what they needed to get done or hit their targets and stuff like that. So I think intuitively tapping in, if you're intuitive, like some leaders are not intuitive and they need these systems, right? So I think it's a case by case basis. So I don't want to completely bash these systems. For some things, we do need systems. But if you are intuitive and you can do things I would even argue that I did things better my own way. I feel like in some ways it would have held me back. So if you have employees like that, don't make them wrong for that, I think. If they're not following the systems and they're doing a great job,
those results,
celebrate that.
How are the results?
Celebrate that.
And be curious and ask them, like, so you're not doing this and you didn't cross off these things off the list, but you did get a great result. And being curious to find out what works, what did work for you, because I think it's brilliant to change systems as needed.
Exactly. Maybe they have a better way of doing it and they could teach everybody that way. Totally.
Exactly.
And I am huge on, and I was like this, I'm like this in a leadership role too, that I don't ever think that I know more than my team or anybody. And I had a large team with many different departments, from personal trainers, group fitness instructors, salespeople, customer service, daycare people, cleaners. It was like a whole wide variety. And I learned stuff from all of them, from people in every department, because I am the type of person that we're going to learn from each other. And I think if more people in leadership roles took on that sort of an attitude, if they were able to put the ego aside and recognize that they're not any smarter or better than anybody else, things just naturally run more efficiently, because you're open to seeing other ways of doing it. You're open to learning from other people. Who's to say that the cleaner or the daycare lady doesn't know how to run the daycare better than you? It's just, come on, they're the ones doing it every day.
And in full transparency, my assistant, that at the moment, I don't have an assistant at this very moment as I'm saying this, and I will be having another one soon. But for 5 years, I had this assistant, and I chose her, and she was with me for 5 years, so loyal, so helpful, because she was absolutely opposite of me.
Yeah.
She was, and sometimes it would drive me crazy, because she would stick to something and she'd say, no, that's not how how we're doing it. We agreed. And I'd be like, but I'm in the moment. Yeah, I'm throwing it all away and burning it all down. And she would hold me to a certain, she was very structured. There were things and tasks that she had to do that I absolutely had no patience to do. So everyone there are different ways of being. And if you can, what I want to encourage you is instead of saying, I want to be like Kim and Ianthe and just throw it all away, but that's really not you. So that's not what we want you to do. Instead, where are really be honest with what works for you, where you're really lit up and where you're feeling the most valuable, and then find a place where you can bring that. So for me, the reason I have a title under my name, Creative Muse, right? So Creative Muse. So if you're somebody that's very by the book, you want me to come in because I'm going to show you all of these creative ways to see things that you can't see. But when I need things by the book, because I have things that actually have to get deliverables that have to happen in a certain way, I'm going to need you to come and help me with that and create
Yeah,
SOPs, systems of,
totally.
what is that? Standard operating procedure, right? Standard
Yeah,
operating procedures. I could almost not remember what that SOP meant because my brain doesn't work that way. I'm like,
right.
ah.
Yeah,
But we
and
need each other.
that's why, yeah, we all need each other.
Yes, it is important to have self-awareness, trust, try different ways of being and see what really works for you. And always be honest with yourself about what lights you up and where you're bringing your very best, because that's what you want more of. When you have to pull yourself so hard to try to make something work because that system is not part of how you organically work, then that's a sign that you need to do a shift. So as always, we want to remind you, share this with a friend, subscribe, put on that notification bell. We try, even though we are wildly in the moment, we are pretty good about releasing episodes every Wednesday. So Unapologetic Uplift, we are here for you to unapologetically find ways to uplift ourselves and you in the process. And we are open always to your comments, suggestions, your DMs. We're very good about responding, Kim and I. So thank you so much. And we will see you again on Wednesday.